What the heck is going?
Hi, guys. Welcome to the Wednesday Night Live show. I know I'm hosting, so I get confused. I'm always waiting for John to start off. So today with us, we're so lucky. We have Lisa, and she has so graciously said I do not have to try to pronounce her last name and butcher it here. So from the World Vapers Alliance, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Lisa, this morning for you. Thank you for getting up early.
Yeah, we got two morning people today on the bottom there. You guys are both enjoying morning.
I think it's 5 a.m. for her, though, so I don't know if she's enjoying it as much as...
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, of course. Thanks for everybody for coming. John, how was your week?
It was good. I don't want to get into today. You know a little bit about it, but that's for another show. But yeah, having a good day. Actually, having a pretty good week. Again, we just it's been bad. We've been getting nonstop rain. There's mudslides everywhere. There's flooding everywhere right now. And then about yesterday, all of a sudden, I was outside and I started getting hit in the head, and I thought it was just big raindrops, and it was nice chunks of hail hitting me in the top of the head. So I was like, all right, what's next? I'm waiting for fish to start falling from the sky. Yeah, locusts, and anything else that could possibly happen in California. But other than that, good week. It's a good week.
That's good. Lisa, how has your week been?
Well, my week is going well, and weather here is actually quite sunny, so I started enjoying that. Thank you for asking.
That's nice. And how about you, Paul? How you doing?
I'm just waiting on the TGA report to drop here in Australia so we can tear it apart. Simple. All the good stuff.
Not stressful at all.
No, not stressful. Well, it is. It is because now they're looking at banning hardware unless you have a prescription.
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting one.
Unbelievable. So, Paul, do you want to say hi to everybody in the chat since we can't trust John to get the names right?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Let's roll up here because I don't have the YouTube open. I only have our private chat here running. So, hello to Pam Spriggans, Dubai, Tom Malwitz, who else have we got? Michael, who else? Addie Tuney, I saw there.
Yeah,
Michael
Addie's
Redfern, Mallory Gates.
Don't forget Mallory.
No, I just saw Mallory, smart cookie. You're really a smart cookie. I'm reading what's going on. Okay.
Phillip.
So
good evening.
And there's Phillip. He's appeared.
Yeah.
So, hello, Phillip.
Phillip's here.
Like magic.
Sample box, but we won't talk about them. They're not meant to be in the chat. And anyone else that's watching. Oh, there's Bruni. Thunder from Down Under. And anyone else that's watching via the Facebook chat, maybe they're on Twitter and anywhere else that we've posted the link this week.
Yeah, real quick, as far as Twitter, guys, I know some people like watching it on Twitter, but StreamYard still hasn't gotten permission yet from Twitter to be able to comment on through Twitter. So if you want to comment and you're watching the show on Twitter right now, you need to either click the YouTube link Who's that? Is it? I'm hearing ghosts.
That was my phone. I tried to mute the alert and it opened it. And,
Just
the
head
first
on
time
over.
today, it's not my fault, which is really things are starting to look up.
Just head on over to the YouTube link and you can comment and ask questions there. They're working on it, I think, so hopefully they get that figured out. I don't know if Twitter just won't allow them to do that. I know the details, but hopefully they get it figured out, because I know a lot of people want to stay on one platform. So
put a call into Elon and see if we can get that worked out.
Elon.
Actually, Elon has enough problems. He might actually take this one on just to have a diversion at the moment.
You might. I got to put all my focus into this.
Anyway, Lisa, thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to be here, and you will have to pronounce your last name for me at some point. And you will also probably have to pinpoint. We figured out that you're not in the state of Georgia. You are in the correct.
Yeah, Allie tuned me into that one yesterday.
That's right.
Well, based on World Vapers Alliance being very much a world network, I was never once thinking that it was the great state of Georgia, but very small, very limited great state of Georgia. Yeah, we understand these things. And yes, the last name kind of remind me a bit of my own. Therefore, you're from out of town. God bless. So welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
My last name was Katsiashvili, and I asked everyone not to try to pronounce it because I understand that it might be very challenging too. So,
yeah, that would not have been my.
Don't even try it, Phillip. I tried for 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
So we have Liza with us today from World Vapers Alliance. She's the community manager. We know that it's extremely early for her, so we want to try to get some questions in with her so we can let her go. So you've been with the World Vapers Alliance now for how long?
For 2 years already.
2 years. Okay. Yeah. And how did you get started with them?
Well, first of all, I knew Michael before, and actually I went through the same journey before joining the World Vapers Alliance. So just to get into how did I start with WVA, I might tell you a little bit of what my quitting journey is, because that's important as well. So I was a smoker ever since I was 19 or something, because it's very usual here in my country that people start smoking at very early age. And that's the age where you actually kind of don't do things and don't think of the consequences. And then at some point I realized and I got very scared and I quit. But then quitting is not easy, as we all know. And that's actually my addiction was more of dependent on, the ritual. I loved smoking while I was with people, and that was very challenging for me because I kept going out, and vaping helped me a lot actually to overcome that. I basically felt much better after quitting, and that's a real life changer for me. And I've heard about World Vapers Alliance, and I also knew Michael, and Michael knew that I was working on campaigns and activism, and he reached out to me and he explained what World Vapers Alliance does actually, and I was very excited to join it 2 years ago. I'm working as a community manager now, which means that I'm in touch with our 33 partner associations who work on ground in different countries, in different contexts, to actually defend vaping from different policies that it might face. But we all know that those policies are usually very similar to each other, and they work in the same direction, meaning the policymakers. And our network also, our alliance also, has 56,000 individual members. And basically my job is to work with different members of the vaping community. And I've been enjoying it a lot so far because I've been hearing a lot of personal stories and digging into the research more and more. And I don't see a reason not to talk about vaping and not to keep spreading the word, actually, that it is a very effective harm reduction method.
I have a quick question for you because it's something I noticed. Was there, when you started smoking at an early age there, was there anybody like, because I saw how my cousins were with their kids in Italy. It was like no big deal. There was no fight, or there was no, that's going to kill you. No, it was just go do your thing. Did you get anybody there at that time saying, because you're a lot older than my cousins, but did anybody say, hey, this is bad for you, or try to stop you from smoking at any time?
Well, I was getting that from my family because especially my family has a history of having a cancer patient. And of course, I was getting told that smoking is the last thing that I should be doing in my life to be healthy. But I still had to come to, because I don't know how it's in other countries, but in Georgia, a lot of people smoke. Like smoking was really, really high. And the willingness of people to give up is also very low. Like 51, I was recently looking at the statistics, and 51% of people haven't even considered, quitting smoking. So that's why it's like, it's a socially very acceptable thing to do. And people do that, especially when they get into kind of more of an adult life. And
is this an EU percentage? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
that's of people smoking in the EU?
No, that's a national percentage that I've mentioned right now.
For a particular, okay. I'm curious because last time I was in, for like France, I think it was the year of our Lord 2001. And in 2001, with the exception of a few places in Paris, smoking was not only the norm, it was, I mean, if ever there was a place that I've been where smoking was actually encouraged, it was in the Loire community, the Rhone Valley in Burgundy, places like that. And from what I've seen recently, it has changed dramatically, and it almost looks as if France is on the precipice of really getting behind the idea of smoking harm reduction, as I like to call it these days, because tobacco just really is not specific enough.
Right. So it very much depends on local context too, because still the legislations in different countries differ, right? So, and in my country, vaping is not even on a political agenda, and that's painful because like a lot of people are smoking, and our public health could have been improved if anyone started talking about harm reduction, especially policymakers. But
so it's so under the radar that it's really not part of the it's not part of any political platform or agenda. It's just that uncategorized, I suppose.
Yes, I mean, the maximum thing that policymakers usually do here is that they regulate it. So they put a higher tax on it or excise tax, but that's it. Like they don't.
Better than prohibiting it, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's right. But even though Georgia is not a EU country, politicians usually take example from the EU, for instance, and we kind of expect that what's going to happening around the world, they will follow the example. So there's quite a lot of work to do, and we're trying to be active.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you guys are really active. I love all the stuff that World Vapers Alliance has done, the campaigns, and I love that kind of in your face, like, activism. And I just, that's why I was so passionate about the World Vapers Alliance, and why the last 2 years I participated in the academy, which is an amazing tool, teaches you so many amazing, things to learn, to be able to speak with politicians, and, how to, get your facts in order, and, and how to reach out, and what are the best channels to do so. And I learned a lot for sure. And now I'm actually teaching one of those classes tomorrow, which is really fun. And also the World Vapers Alliance has this awesome fellowship that they offer. And if anybody would like to apply for that fellowship, you can go on their website, or you can check out my latest article with them, and the link is right at the bottom. So if anybody wants to join in, I think the World Vapers Alliance does great work, and I just think it's a really worthy thing to do, to advocate, and you learn at the same time. And those tools have helped me with what I'm doing here in the U.S.
I think what introduced me to pretty much everyone here and everyone that I cherish on social media who's involved with tobacco smoking harm reduction, I met through the first World Vape Day, World Vapers Alliance sponsored, and it's such a well coordinated event that I believe that it was in terms of Twitter activity, it shamed. World No Smoking Day, which was that year. I think it was either 2019 or 2020. I cannot remember. It was really amazing that the amount of activity with World Vape Day was it literally put the World No Vape Day or the World Health Organization's horrible propaganda that year. A lot of really very just a lot of terrible depictions of kids like with mods in their hands, just shameful stuff. Yeah. That year, that particular campaign dwarfed everything that every anti-organization did. So, and I would say that was probably the thing that has kept me on Twitter ever since. Shame on you for doing that to me. But the effort by Michael and everyone else involved was truly something special. It has been every year.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to hear that you guys are following our different activities, and that's a real compliment for our work that we do. I'm really glad to hear that.
You said that you have 30 some odd different networks that you try and coordinate a single message sometimes with. Well, you do this very well, and that's a really amazing example of something that you were able to coordinate.
And most importantly, those people and those groups are really amazing. They work locally and they raise their voices, and it's been nothing but inspiring to work with them. And they all actually are in activism because they have their personal stories, and that's how they got to vaping activism. So it's a very interesting people and groups, and we are happy to have them as our partners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys
Paul,
do a great job.
Paul, you got something? Dude, it's weird that you got glasses on.
Why?
I don't know.
Yes, it is weird. You look.
Why? Because I do wear glasses.
I know, but we never see you with them on. You look
They
good.
might be Giants is playing here in the city of Birmingham.
I like it. It's a good look. It's a good look. I like it.
I don't like being a geek all the time, so I don't wear them, and I don't wear contacts either.
Not all the time. 89%.
That's the first thing I think of when I think Paul. I think, God, what a nerd.
Go ahead, Paul.
Liza, I'm sorry. My question is, the region that you live in, how much policy, I know this from friends that live in and around that way, how much policy actually gets controlled by still Russian influences? Is that still a factor within your region?
That's a good question. Not in a sense of public health, but there is this negative side that in countries like ours, there are kind of different things on agenda, and yes, politics are still influenced by Russian side, but we're kind of trying to resist it, and so we're in that back and forth basically all the time. But that's not very much related to vaping as such, but generally, yes, we are in that fight with our government.
Does Poland also try and tell you guys what to do or not?
Not really. I haven't, I don't perceive it that way.
Georgia's a pretty big place. For example, are you on the Caspian Sea? Are you more near Armenia?
Yeah, Black Sea and Armenia is our neighboring country. Yeah.
So where would you, more specifically, the area that you come from, where would that be more specifically? Because the area that is considered Georgia, do you consider Georgia a province, a territory? English word for Georgia, for example, we have states. Georgia would be to Russia what? Okay, Georgia is a state in the United States. Georgia would be to Russia. What would be the correct word?
Nothing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nothing. And
Nothing. Nothing.
We sadly are their neighbors, but Georgia is an independent country, and that's where our struggle comes from, actually, because everyone here wants to be independent from them, and
I understand.
that's what they want to do. Yeah.
I got a question for you. Are you do you have the ability to talk to the people that represent your country? Do you get that openness that like can you make an appointment and walk in and sit down with these people, and are they listening to you?
Well, that's a very good question, actually, because with World Vapers Alliance, what we are trying to do is, like Allison mentioned, WV Academy, and just to get back to the topic, we are like training and teaching people on how to do different things when it comes to vaping advocacy in WV Academy. And one of them is actually how to talk to politicians and policymakers, because those are the people who actually will come up with legislation. And we found out that mostly those people do not know much about vaping, actually, and they come up with policies on such premise. And in Georgia, per se, it's a bit harder to get to actually people who are working on, like, it's possible. It's possible. I wouldn't say it's not possible, but things work a little differently. For instance, if in the EU there is a consultation open and you submit the response and then you stuff like that, it's usually less transparent here. They might just come up with some kind of legislation like in 5 days and then you have it. But usually you can always you always have means to raise your voice or protest against something that you do not like, or talk about actually harm reduction. And I'm glad that this process has started in my country too, because people, not from government, but actually people started to talk about harm reduction more. And this kind of dialogue is fostered among the community, not coming from
as a concept. They're starting to see that not only is it viable as a concept, it's also viable as a source of tax revenue.
Is it an older representation?
That is something that a lot of people, politicians in particular, are going to want to know. And a lot of the cigarettes, I imagine, it must be very expensive to smoke cigarettes in Georgia or anywhere around there. I don't know if people still prefer American cigarettes, but for the love of God, I can't imagine how much that could cost right now.
Is it an older representation of people that are in power there? So, like, is it a younger group? Are they 30s, 40s, or is it like us here where we only elect people that are in their 70s? I'm sorry.
John making fun of me again.
No, I'm not. You're not 70. You're younger than I am.
I was going to shave today, John.
We only have, and that's an interesting. So there are a lot of people, and the age actually is quite different. Like, it varies. There are some younger people and older. I don't have exact rates of who is like how old, but that doesn't make much sense in terms of the parliament, because we only have one ruling party, and there's a really kind of crisis right now in Georgia politically, and I just want to go deeper into that. But when it comes to policy making, they just kind of work in a coordinated manner. They don't even have anyone who would oppose them in the parliament. Like, they decide on something and then they work, and that's why it's very much dependent on people. People should be opposing them here.
I know what you were born to do now. And I know why you are here with us.
I'm pretty sure.
I take it from a 40-year-old man. The women truly are smarter, and let's just say that whoever is trying to figure out, how to, perhaps in a single party situation in a large, part of what used to be the USSR, that's yours for the taking. And it's very interesting. Do you find it? Is it a scary time to be where you are?
Yes and no at the same time. So there are much scarier times for other countries, as we know at the moment. But for instance, last week we had huge protests, and they dispersed us with gas and water cannons and stuff like that. So in that sense, it's kind of at least a discomfort for us. But that doesn't mean we don't oppose stuff that we don't like.
I ask it truly from my own it's impossible to imagine, but do you, I guess to a certain extent, are you waiting to see how and when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine resolves itself? And then after that, I guess a lot of people are waiting to see what happens after that, which is likely to be.
Yeah, of course, because what's happening in Ukraine is very much our kind of histories related to each other. We also had war with Russia in 2008. So that means that basically what Ukraine does is very much it does that for us too. The victory of Ukraine is our victory too. That's how like most of people perceive it here. But at the same time, we have problems with the government, which openly is pro-Russian at the moment. So we're opposing it all the time. And that's why it's like this is the major issue at the moment. And to get back to vaping and public health, it usually gets challenging because people just don't have time to talk about that. We are kind of in the streets and they're dispersing us, and it works differently. But yeah.
Right. But you're super stressed. You need harm reduction right now because people are probably smoking more.
Let's just say, I mean, I can imagine a scenario where Georgia might be like, yes, go pick on Ukraine for a while we get our thoughts together. And I admire let's just say the history of where you live is steeped in quite a bit of, well, we don't really agree with you, Goliath, and well, it's amazing actually. So bravo.
You want to tell us a little bit about what you're currently working on right now? And
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about Academy, actually, because that's an ongoing project. And I know that Allison is going to be a speaker. I'm very excited about that because Allison was actually among our first graduates, and we started this project. This was actually the first project that I worked on when I started at WVA 2 years ago, and it's the third time now that we are launching it. And I'm really excited because I think WVA Academy has formed into something like that provides community with skills and knowledge, but also kind of unites people because that's a good way for people and vapers to know each other. And we launched this project initially because we realized that there is a potential among vapers and vaping community. There are a lot of people who are passionate about the cause, but they might not know where to start exactly. So how to raise their voice, or how to start talking to policymakers, or how to engage with media and get the article published. And we realized that we are doing this thing, like everything that I've mentioned right now, and it would make only sense to kind of share our experience and maybe provide them with the knowledge about that. So we kind of created the program, the WVA Academy, and we experimented with it for the first year, and we had a lot of interesting people, and we've been running it ever since. And I think that's one of the really good community-oriented projects, and the outcome of this. We have some outcomes and success stories like Allison, or we have some friends from Portugal actually who were listening to the WV Academy, and then they got motivated to launch an organization on their own, and now they are running consumer organization Omstova in Portugal, and they are on our partners list. So things like that really cheer us up because we're trying to give that motivation to people actually.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect when I first signed up, but I was like, I'll take any and all help because advocating is hard. And it's not always easy to start a conversation with a politician or even know how to get your foot in the door to have that conversation in the first place. And when I was done with it, I was like, wow, I learned so much. And I was telling other people about what I learned. And then I was like, I'm going to do it again next year. Like, I'll just do it again, learn more stuff. And I think honestly, it really did help me a lot. And it's a very valuable academy. And anybody that, wants to be a part of it, I definitely recommend it because it's great.
You say you didn't have that much access to
I'm tall enough. I would very much like to be on the ride. Thank you. Yeah, I really think it's great what you're doing. What Allison just said, those things. If you were able to learn those things, let's just say that what you're doing is invaluable because I still don't know how to do those things properly.
Yeah.
And let's sign up right now.
I was going to say, you need to sign up.
Sign up, Phillip. So you were saying you didn't have that much access to some of your officials. Do you have access to some of their what do we call them? Temps? What do we call the aides? I'm sorry, aides.
The admins. Yeah, that's
the admins. Are you able to communicate with that group at all?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. But it also gives you the confidence to get that conversation started because it's easy to sit and tweet or send an email, but it's much more effective to have an in-person conversation if you can.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And it's really strange. Living where I live, we have Senator Tommy Tuberville, who many years ago went on something known as Rod Cochran's Vape Radio show. Tommy Tuberville, shortly before he won the election, where he was essentially, he didn't have any competition. There was no one running against him. He went on Vape Radio and spoke with Rod Cochran, and he said what any politician would say, that he believes in adults' right to choose. And well, he may very well still think that, but unfortunately, he's busy making kind of a fool of himself, speaking about other forms of harm reduction and not really knowing much about it. For example, today he was quoted as something along the lines, he asked if an EpiPen can work just like naloxone, Narcan, when someone's having an opioid overdose. And well, that's just, there are no dumb questions except for that one. Anyway, there was someone from UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, there to correct him. So I guess you could say all of the politicians where I live are pro-vaping and very interesting in all other areas. So I guess I'm always looking for something to do wherever I can do it. Man, anyhow, I had to point that out because it's been driving me crazy all day long.
Well, I mean, down here too in South Carolina, I think a lot of politicians are pro small business, but then they don't want to touch vaping with a 10-foot pole. So it's like you kind of have to explain to them what it is because most of them have no idea. They just assume that everything back, a year or two ago, everything was a jewel. They had no idea that there was any other, vaping was a jewel. That was it. So, you kind of have to be able to, it's almost like, teaching a preschool class, which is what I used to do. It's, where you have to explain things in very, simple terms and kind of repeat yourself and just explain it to them and show them the proof. And I mean, I even had somebody come into one of our vape shops that was supporting a bill against flavors. And when he came in, it was like he met some older customers and he got to see that we're scanning IDs and that these people are not kids and they actually really do depend on these products. And he's like, I had no idea that this was even like this. So you kind of just have to open their eyes and see how willing they are to listen.
I have a question for you. There are a couple of very well-known physicians who practice and or teach at the medical center and the medical school in Birmingham, the University of Alabama, Birmingham. And a couple of them are interested in having meetings. When you are speaking to a legislator as opposed to an academic, what do you think is the most important thing to remember?
Money. How much money the state, the vaping generates for the state and taxes.
Okay, that would be what to keep in mind when you're speaking with a legislator.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, what would be the first thing to keep in mind when you're speaking with a academic, someone who has a great deal of academic, they're known in circles to where they don't want to step out and put their reputation on the line, and at the same time they are smart enough to where they're doing the right thing in all other areas of harm reduction. And it's likely, how would you approach someone?
I think I would definitely bring my science and my facts 100%. And also, I also think above all, for anyone that you're speaking to, I think the most important thing you can do too is to tell your personal story, because nothing makes that personal connection more than telling somebody how it worked for you. And I think that could work with medical, people, and also with legislators, because you're a constituent and you need to connect yourself to the issue and make them understand how it also affects other constituents. And then, as far as medical, I mean, my doctor was not pro vaping whatsoever. I kept showing her studies and data, and I brought her Colin Mendelssohn's book and I gave it to her. I have a new copy now for myself because she kept it. But that is really what made her, I was like, just do me one favor. If you read this and you don't find any value in it, I won't talk to you about vaping anymore. We just won't talk about it anymore. And now she does recommend vaping to her patients. So that's a win. You just got to keep trying, and you don't want to be rude, because if you're rude, you're never going to hear
come on,
man. Again. But you're not going to get that follow-up,
No, I'm a very good example of what can happen when you're let's just say hopefully the latter half of my 40s, early 50s are spent making up for being a jerk. Hopefully, I mean, I might have to spend most of my 50s making up for that, but either way, you're right, you are correct, and you have to speak to these people, through, with the knowledge that they aren't going to know, and they shouldn't. Let's just say that if there was ever a one thing that they should know that's positive about vaping, we haven't exactly been great in communicating with one voice what that one thing is. Mm-hmm. The important thing is people are still dying smoking cigarettes. They don't have to, and maybe I can help you understand a little bit why.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, like I've definitely won people over or just gotten them to talk to me when I tell them my own personal story. And I think that's the biggest thing, because, and don't lie. We don't have to lie. And if you don't know something, just be like, I'll get back to you, because that leaves an opening where you can supply them with more information and also follow up with them and continue the conversation.
How is your partnership with the vape shops there in Georgia, with you guys, with the World Vapor Alliance? Do you have a working relationship with some of the shops there as well?
We have recently launched a program, and it's not only in Georgia, but just talking globally, a Vape Shop Ambassador Program, which, and we launched it because we realized that vape shops and vape shop owners are actually crucial part of the community, and they serve customers and they can help us inform them and keep updated. However, they're not our members because we're consumer oriented.
Right, you're consumers, right?
And our end goal is to reach the consumers, but we have around more than 200 vape shops around the world from different countries in our network now, who are helping us spread different material and information. And we are planning to work more and more actively on that site too.
Yeah. Are they approaching you with ideas for their shop as far as advocacy? And you guys are helping them in that department though, right? I mean, as far as plantlets and leaflets and how to communicate with their customers and making sure that they know when and where to be when there is something that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're trying to do is basically to work together with vape shops and vape shop owners in a sense that we keep them updated about what we know is changing in their countries. And it's important because they serve as a bridge between us and their customers, meaning consumers. And as a consumer alliance, it's very important for us to reach more and more people. And they definitely want to help us because they are the target, actually, and this misinformation affects their work a lot. So.
Right, and I very much believe that vapor products should be available or as available as cigarettes are, as accessible. But I also believe that specialty vape shops play an enormous role in helping people who smoke understand what their options are and understand how many enjoyable options exist. We've been talking for a long time about there are a lot of people who smoke who ever since the improperly termed a Valley incident in 2019, they still believe that vaping is just as deadly as cigarette smoking. And when you find someone like that, it's hard to keep yourself calm and speak to them about, I understand why you might think that. There are a few things that I'd like to share with you. Would you like to hear more? And sometimes the answer to that is, well, hell no, go away. But I also think that vape shops who do it right are extremely important, and vape shops that do it wrong are equally important in that they don't, either they stop doing it wrong or they stop doing it, period. Let's just say that sometimes, let's just say that the good vape shops, there are way too many very dedicated operations out there for there to be ones that are tarnishing their name and the good work they're doing. Anyway, I'm going to shut up.
That's interesting because we figured that most of the vape shop owners actually start their business because they went through the same journey. They realized that it worked for them and they want to provide with same smoking cessation products other people. And they are also activists. Like when we talk to some people who run vape shops, they are actually very passionate about activism and being raise the voice, basically. So that we do work with them, and we're trying to kind of make them part of our community too.
Do you guys, where do you guys fall in as far as regulations in Georgia? There is it EU regulations. Are you limited to how many milliliters, tank sizes, or are there any of those? There are there. Okay.
Yeah, there are. It's pretty much similar to what the EU does, and that's why it's important to, like, even if you're, for instance, not a part of, like, for instance, EU in this sense, and the EU has their own legislation, it still makes sense for you to be loud about things that you don't like, and that happens with every kind of country, because if the EU rolls out some kind of policy, then other countries in different parts of the world might take example and do very much the same without even revising this. So
yeah, we've seen it. Kind of
hopefully they're not. Hopefully they're not paying.
EU policy regarding vaping or any sort of limitation of vaping that's a blanket EU. That I can't even imagine something like that being put before the EU Parliament, because it's just it's an enormous issue and an enormous responsibility. Okay. And for example, I think France has become more open to the idea of vaping as an integral. Let's just say that I believe the what is her official title in okay, I know Macron is the French president, the second command.
I was going to say something smart ass, but I won't. French jokes. Anyway. I got lots of French jokes.
Careful. French Canadian, aspiring French. Anyway, it seems places like France are becoming more open to the idea of tobacco harm reduction, where certain days it looks like Belgium is about to ban it all, or the Netherlands, what have you. They're just strangely hard to. I guess it's hard to how they're going to feel about vaping in any given day, and sometimes these sensationalist headlines come out of a certain country they contradict what was said in a country right next to it the day before. So I guess it's a little exhausting to think about.
Yeah. That's why we kind of also take an example from the countries where they follow the harm reduction concept. For instance, the UK, even though it's not in the EU, but still the UK. Or Sweden is doing the same thing, and they have the lowest cancer rates in Europe. So that's something that definitely makes sense to put out there as an example. And we are planning, and we are doing that, and we'll be doing that in the future too.
Wait a minute, Paul, go ahead. Am I pointing around? I don't know which. My camera's it's on. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I'm listening.
I know where your mind is. That's why I'm trying to get you out of there so your blood pressure doesn't go up.
Oh, my blood pressure's through the roof right now, so don't worry about it, because now they're going to be pushing for plain packaging, is what we've just read. They would also like, and this makes no sense at all.
Is this the Green Party?
No.
Okay, sorry.
No, Phillip.
Paul, do you need a ginger ale? I can get you one. Okay, please go.
I need about half a dozen bottles of scotch right now. what I'm reading. Okay. They would now like all devices standardized. Okay. As to the point where you cannot modify temperature, wattage, anything.
So straight one button push, set wattage.
Yep.
Wow.
This was put to me by someone in the UK a few weeks ago, and I said if they went down this pathway, it would never work. Look, so many problems that we have here in Australia at the moment, it's unbelievable. I've been reading the chat. I know that Germany, with their taxes, that's just uncalled for. It's absolute stupidity. 16 cents per milliliter? Forget it. They're going to create another black market that we've seen flourish here since our prescription model was introduced. And that's not what we want to see. Okay?
Affordable, accessible.
That's for a start. Now, the second proposal is that all hardware sold in Australia, you need a prescription for. Are you kidding me?
So they're trying to mandate standardized hardware, which I honestly can't. Someone who is in a position of power in Australia is putting this to the Australian government. Someone who can actually get this passed, make this
our federal health minister, Mark Butler, is actually asking now for hardware. By the looks of it,
has he ever seen hardware? And
he's going to find out very quickly when a pallet of hardware from most of the major manufacturers from around the world appears on his doorstep, that they don't all look like highlighter pens for a start. Secondly, right, the biggest part is that I'm also organising for every liquid manufacturer from around the world to send him 0 nicotine liquids that are not covered in cartoons and everything else. These are very serious manufacturers that all look at this pathway. He's also looking at black and white packaging now for all e-liquids in Australia.
I could live with that if somebody would tell me. Well, okay, for example, snus. Is it snus or snus? How do you pronounce it?
Snus. We've had this argument.
No, there's no argument. I'm just saying, for example, I didn't have a clue what snus was until
I didn't either,
a
Phillip.
couple of years ago.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that if I only learned what it was a couple of years ago, you know, the average person who doesn't smoke or vape, they don't know, don't care, couldn't possibly. And yet the phenomenon that is a direct result of Swedishness, which is a lot of, tobacco users, very few people getting cancer at all in Sweden. It's incredible. And there's more, I guess, epidemiological evidence behind snus as a form of, harm reduction than any other tobacco product on the planet. I mean, there must be, I imagine. Anyways, snus in Sweden has been saving, people from smoking cigarettes and dying for a long time. But if you think about it this way, it's just like, Paul, you said this person who wants to standardize devices. Well, there's a lot. Well, I mean, you've got 2 batteries, you've got a device that, you've got the power device, and you have the tank on top, and you have the coil, then you have materials in the coil, and you have all kinds of things. It just doesn't make any sense. And it sounds a lot like something that somebody who has who doesn't know what he's talking about might propose.
Well,
So
you would think too that they would want like a bigger device because it's harder to hide. Like I feel like open systems are probably the best way to go with if you're worried that your kid's bringing it to school. Nobody's bringing a mod to school.
Yeah.
As much as I think that, for a long time, everybody was vilifying Juul because Juul was an easy scapegoat, even people who support vaping, and it was a bad move. The point is it helped a lot of people quit smoking, but you're right. Nobody is interested in that. I'm actually going to go out and buy the dual 21700 version of the Aegis that just came out tomorrow because I will be the first one, I think, at least to buy it from this chain of stores because I must have it because it looks like it will survive me. But the point is people, when it comes to, high powered, I call them APVs. People call them all kinds of things. I just remember APV from e-cigarette forum. There are a whole lot of kids like grabbing one of those and may I go to the bathroom? Miss Hill House. It's, that's really not it.
You're not hiding that big cloud that John just blew out.
But I also stand by my theory that your average, periwinkle colored elf bar is maybe a little harder to hide than the old school thumb drive Juul. So all that being said,
right, it could blend in if it's just a plain. Yeah.
What does the disposable look like? I mean, there for you guys in Georgia, is it like here where it's just kind of taken over the vaping community?
It's something that is getting really popular. So yeah, that's definitely kind of getting popular more than actually people getting devices, but we still have more I'm really positive about that because I see more and more vape shops being open. So that's a signal that there is demand for mods and pods, and basically people might want to switch more frequently.
So it's like Italy, because my cousin vapes there, and he says, he laughs because he doesn't see any of them at all. He said everyone's got a mod. Everybody likes to tinker with their stuff and customize it and do all these other things and be able to switch flavors on the fly. And they don't understand why it's kind of. I really don't understand why it's kind of taken off here. Now I don't hate them. I don't think we don't need them around. I just don't understand why. Like I said before, I worked so hard to get from 24 to 3, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to go grab a 50. What am I doing to myself? Going, why did I work so hard to go from 24 milligrams down to 3 and then, pick up a 50? It just, for me, it didn't make sense in the beginning. I do understand why it's needed. I do get that, the person that's quitting for the first time, yes, that device is going to be very beneficial to that person. But I don't still to this day don't understand why the 10-year veteran vapor needs 50 milligrams when he.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked right now.
Okay. You need to understand the chemistry of nicotine as well with that one, John.
I know.
Two things.
No.
My mother, who's still smoking a pack a day, is finally cut about 10 cigarettes out of that other half a pack every day using one of these damn things. Yeah. You know why? Well, because she found a flavor after throwing thousands of dollars of all-in-ones and after screwing it up for the last 10 years, I finally found her something juicy peach that has a little light that says blue. Okay, you might need to charge it in a little while, and it's it's the gaudiest thing in the world. But it's also interestingly enough, she doesn't like the synthetic nic ones that have a smoother hit. She likes a proper cigarette throat hit, something that lets her know she's having a cigarette more.
Well, like I said, I understand why the beginning ex-smoker needs that device. I don't understand, I don't understand why the guy that's been vaping 5-6 years now, and this is my theory, the only reason I think those devices are there right now, and the reason I think a lot of veteran vapors went to those devices is because of legislation. I think the hate for vaping that is out there, I think it drew us to this smaller device that we could put in our pocket. And I've seen articles now of people just talking about how embarrassed they are that they're seeing vaping. And why not grab this little device where I can put it in my pocket? I don't have to carry this around.
There are fewer e-liquid choices than ever right now, and a lot of people are very hesitant to innovate in that area because, well, they're soon to be let's just say they're soon to be illegal. But what I'd like to say is this: what I'm trying to do recently, my great big new expensive habit is trying to figure out which of these. There are a million disposables out there. I'm just trying to figure out which of these are actually worth the money that someone who's never vaped before might spend on it. And for every one that's worth a damn, there's probably 50 that aren't, at least.
Okay, so guys, real
Go
quick.
ahead. Get out.
Okay, so Lisa has got to go. So,
okay, Lisa.
Thank you so much
Thank you, Lisa.
for coming on and being with us. Really
thank you very much.
appreciate it.
It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you for giving me space and to talk about this.
Yeah, you are welcome back anytime. Just let us know if you have something going on that you want to get on here and share with everybody, and we would love to have you back on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, everybody head on over to, not now, but after the show, head on over to her Twitter account.
And I said in my application, it says, Phillip, be kind.
Yeah. Thank you
Older
again.
than most.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Take care, Lisa.
And you're going. I get what you're saying, though, Phillip. But
I need to relearn French, man. Right now, I feel like such a loser.
Parlez-vous français? No, I get it, but
my English sucks. For God's
sake. When you're talking about vapors that have been 5-8 years in, I can guarantee you that I guarantee you the guy that's 3 years in knows how to get his e-liquid. He knows where to go and get it. So this bullshit thing. Wait, this bullshit thing where guys can't find e-liquid, that's crap. Because I'm sorry, if you've been vaping for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, 12 years like myself, you know how to get e-liquid. You know how to get whatever flavor you want.
Here's the thing. I'm having to try different e-liquds because this.
Oh, no, not you.
Same
I'm not
product,
talking.
same everything. We have the expiration date on this thing that's like, going into 2026. Horse shit. A. B.
Don't talk to John about that. He's not ancient.
3 milligram is starting to hit a lot like 1.25. There is absolutely every bit of evidence in the world that the same e-liquid that may very well be available isn't quite the same.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, let's say that these guys should be able to keep their shit together, but they're not. And what I'm noticing is a lot of the quality control that people were able to spend some time on, give a shit about. They have bigger problems right now, having a completely uncertain future. And I empathize with that. What I'm talking about is, in the meantime, what we've seen is a growth in the market, at the very least disposables. Most of them can be recharged now. And I'm not sure what the first step is. Do we find a way to get these, I guess there is no way to actually make these more environmentally friendly, or let's just say the 50 milligram. This is not something that I like. I like something that's, harsh. It makes most people cough, until the day after, tomorrow. So my point is, they have a purpose right now. And let's just say our government has basically begged for this. Yeah. The best I can do right now is help people figure out what's worth buying, and mostly you should not buy them from AJ's Quick Stop. You should buy them from a place that you trust.
Yeah.
And even check your verification code. Check your verification.
I'm sure I told you a story, but I actually managed to get a secondhand B stock Flume Pebble in San Diego. Let's just say it was the most disappointing. I had just gotten a great massage. I was expecting a peach icy flavored something. It was so bland and shitty. I swear to God, best massage ever. Second time they had been authorized. So essentially, I kind of think it's the whole rewrap, Samsung.
Yeah, I'm not going to crap on someone for buying one. For me, it just seems like I worked so hard to get to that 3 and to 0. To be honest, I was at 0 for months. and I just, I wasn't ready, and I eased myself back into 3, and then every now and then I will buy a 6. Now, the only time I do really buy one of those, and I brought it up, when I go hiking, because I don't want to.
Are you experiencing peer pressure?
No, but it's just nicotine is just like
the same thing.
Yeah, nicotine is just like any other medicine. I mean, you're weaning yourself down. You're trying to get yourself down to 3, and I was really confused. And I'm talking about 5 or 6. Well, let's see here. 5 or 6 years ago, when did Juul come out? Has it been that long already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord, like late 2015, early 2016.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, I just started seeing our whole Example Box Facebook group page, all these Juuls, and I'm thinking to myself, you work so hard, you busted your ass to get yourself down to 3, and now you're buying this 50, and all you're doing is you're to me, as I was thinking, maybe Paul will tell me different, but I felt like you were just torturing your body.
I don't think so, though, because I use a 6 all day, every day. And I also use a disposable. And I can go with either one, just depending on my mood.
Situation,
So, I mean, I don't feel like I'm not like dying if I go a whole day with a 6 and I don't touch my disposable, which does happen. But it's easier for me, to hide this and be more discreet with it. But I mean, at work all day, I'm puffing on my 6 milligram, but I don't want to be, doing that,
If only this thing right here wasn't synthetic Nick, and it didn't hit like the biggest baby, it would be perfect, because it almost like feels like resin. It's actually almost nice to look at, unlike this one that actually has great flavor and hits like a Mack truck. The point is, there are a few of these that are actually really helping people stop smoking. And when I say my mom, I'm saying that, my God, she almost would just take whatever I'd given her last year and just kind of bring it with her to lunch, lunch date. And I would look at it, I could see that she hadn't used it in the last year. So, okay, well, that failed. This one, she's, vaped. I mean, you can just tell, like, the mouthpiece is filthy. I'm like, well done. Well done.
Well done.
But I think you're right when it comes to, well, at least for me, that smooth sneak up on you 50 milligram addiction. It's not really I'm not all that worried about it, because I don't know. I still have that smoker. I need to feel the pain in order to really believe that I'm getting anything done here.
I also see no issues with nicotine. So
no, I don't either. I just feel like for me it was just that being a 20+ year smoker and then doing all I had to do, and those nights that I was just grinding my teeth and just ready to punch a hole in the wall and go out and build 50,000 different coils just to keep myself, my hands doing something and my mind doing something, so I wasn't thinking about a cigarette. Doing all that, and then all of a sudden I was just like, hey, everybody, get this 50 milligram, and that's what are they actually 60, right? A Juul's actually 60.
I truly believe if people still made 12 and 18 like they once did,
that was the other problem. That was the other problem.
Grandmaster, a proper Gorilla Juice, whatever, those really great, even Cyclops, it had Hades or whatever, Poseidon at 18. Now they're just, let's just say that I still think Freebase tastes better. It has it's more satisfying. The experience is more like smoking. And I'll take 12 any day in a mouth to lung device over whatever, salt, whatever synthetic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The flavors, some of these are very good. And surprisingly enough, some of them are, I never thought my mom would, she's got her, very, expensive purse, one of these damn things in it.
Yeah, I mean, Paul knows.
At least we're not smoking cigarettes. That's
that's it. I mean, Paul knows. Yeah, Paul knows where that transition that happened there in the beginning, where it was almost impossible to find anything above 6. I mean, it was just 3 and 6. That was it, and then just that was the way the whole community went. It was just
the company I work for has always gone from 3 to 24. So, and we also made a 36 unflavored. So if you needed, and a lot of people would buy that if they were more than a two pack a day smoker, and they want to add some extra nicotine.
You say Charleston?
You're 24, yeah.
God bless you guys, because I had to actually order from Totally Wicked to get that 36 horrible, black label tobacco, that stuff. I think it's I don't know who it is who talks about the super XXX liquid he makes with whatever, but this stuff destroys anybody's story about whatever their nastiest, strongest illegal. I had to mix it with Boba's 24 to vape this stuff straight, even out of the tiny little Totally Wicked Ego Tornadoes. Yeah, you're just asking to die slow and painfully. Just all that being said, to still make a 24 in freebase, I mean that's character.
Well, we don't make it in a freebase because we got an MDO for that, so we had to switch to synthetic. But I mean, and synthetic doesn't have the hit, unfortunately.
And I don't know how. Let's just say the idea of it actually being a synthetic nicotine, I don't know what to call it, because it seems to me that actual fully synthetic nicotine would be so cost prohibitive. I don't know how it's actually, quote, let's just say the numbers don't really work out.
Well, I mean, the company that we buy from, we have a COA that shows that it's fully synthetic, but I mean, and you can tell, even with our synthetic salts, you can tell it's just not the same hit. But it works still. People did switch over to it. I mean,
no, and different people, like for example, this has great flavor, but it has almost zero of that chest hit. This one has a much stronger flavor. It's overwhelmingly icy, and it's tobacco derived. And I guarantee you, no two smokers are going to feel the same about any of these. But
how much of it do you think is? How much of it do you think for yourself, Phillip? It's the draw that you're getting more so than the flavor. The type of draw you're getting is more satisfying to you.
I think that you asked me to compare these two.
Yeah, those compared to an open system. I mean, because that's you're talking apples and oranges here. I can grab my RDA, and I'm not going to get. Sometimes I feel like you do. Sometimes I go grab my mouth to lung because I feel like I still need to have that where I'm really.
The only reason I have these and I've been using them is because I would like to be able to tell people who are interested in getting one of these which ones to stay away from and which ones to try. And these are two that I think are worth trying. The question is, are you that? This is going to be tighter, stronger.
Right?
This is
plus
looser.
It's just fun to be able to switch up the flavor every 5 seconds with disposables and
not at the very least, exactly. At the very least, we're no longer talking about one use 250 puff bullshit.
Yeah.
At the very least, we're talking a couple thousands of puffs and rechargeable. And this one even has like a green, fully charged, blue, halfway depleted light on it. Which for my mom, let's just say I've been buying her like the coolest kits, like expensive kits.
Won't work. It won't work with her. Yeah.
She never even took them out of the box. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. And the simplicity of it, Jill, even the having to go out and get more pods for her, she's old. Okay.
Yeah. Handing your mom a kid, it would be like giving her a 5,000 piece puzzle. That's what she was like. What?
Well, she lucked out with the whole genes thing because her mother Dolly lived to be 100 and almost 1 year old, smoking a couple packs of Kents every day. So go figure. There's always that exception to the rule. My grandfather not so lucky. But the point is, and we're talking for the first time ever. I don't know how old she is. Like 176. So she's 70. Help me out here, Phillip. 74. And for the first time, she's actually smoking 15 cigarettes less a day than she was a few months back when I gave her this app. She's actually using it. This is something I never saw coming, but it is what it is. Yeah. And I hope that at the very least we can discern, while they're available. I don't know how many days do we have left until the ABC boards around this country decide to
Don't worry about it. They'll be available on a corner near you, I'm sure. In unmarked van.
There'll be a guy with a trench coat. There'll be a guy with a trench coat. He'll go, code? What code?
Actually, no. I have plenty of like dusters that I can like work for. My moment is coming. The gray market is going to be beautiful.
Hey, Dean.
I look good doing it. But Allison, do you have any like quick advice for those like really responsible operators that are getting little warning letters from the Alabama has a beverage control board.
Mr. Orlando.
They're basically just saying the loud marketing, we're going to have to but they're coming and being very nice, almost like they're doing this as, it almost seems symbolic because they have to. And they're
in Alabama too, you have to be on a registration list, like approved product registration list, which is why, if you've seen recently, RJ Reynolds is having their lawyer send out warning letters to shops in Alabama.
But the only shops in Alabama that have actually been rated by the ABC board are the ones that were never vape shops. They were head shops that decided to like move into vapory. And the proper vape shops that we have here, we have some great ones here, are really not being bothered. And I guess my question is
also they go after the largest offenders in their opinion. Also, take a look at the FDA, website and see how many of these places have warning letters. How many of these places have, issues for selling to youth? Because that might be another reason that they target those places.
See, that's the interesting thing, is because I don't own a piece of a vape shop.
Well, that stuff is public, so you can look it up.
Well,
I think over
I did.
6,000 underage sales in South Carolina. I think between 2021 and 2022, and I think 54 of those were vape shops, and the rest of them were grocery stores.
No, I did just that after a friend of mine, heard from some guy, God knows where in Anniston, about his shop getting raided, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, have you looked at, what their underage sale? They've been reprimanded. Turns out not only has this place been reprimanded for underage sale, it was cited for not having up-to-date business license on.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so they're going to go after the biggest offenders first. I don't think it won't get to the vape shops, unfortunately, but I think that they're starting.
Yeah,
and these people who aren't actually the same. Let's just say I wouldn't consider them vape shops. They started as head shops and became like a little corner of vape.
It's in the back.
Yeah, tiny little corner of the product. They have like little. All you have to do is look at their social media accounts and see they are doing it so wrong that this Alabama state government is doing us a favor. So my feeling is that what they're doing is going after the ones that are absolutely need to be out of business thus far, and just doing the bare minimum of what they are told they have to do to let the ones who are doing, by my estimation, a very fine job, making sure people have what they need to not smoke and doing it the right way, and never ever so much as letting. I swear to you, there's the only thing, and Allison, I think you'll probably agree with me on this. Is one every time I walk in there, if there's someone new, someone old, they'll make sure that I have my ID on me, and let's just say that's the only way that
I want to answer one of these questions here that Steve Todman put up, right? Reynolds simply is going after and throwing their weight around right now.
It's a scare tactic.
Okay, and right, I'm really pissed off when I actually got to read that letter for a number of reasons. Okay, you want to throw your weight around? This is probably a smaller law firm within that region that is trying to flex their muscle. Oh, we represent Reynolds. I don't give a flying fuck who you represent. If you want to go and put your boot into someone and try and shut their business down, stand fast, whoever owns that company. If you ever find this little clip that I'm about to say, stand your ground. Don't worry about Reynolds for the minute. Reynolds got to stay for certain things right now. They're trying to flex their muscle. They're trying to say, well, we can do this, this, and this. Alabama, all the vape shop owners down there, stand your ground. If you get a letter from Reynolds, send it through to one of us.
Say
we'll
it again.
Sure it gets out there.
My one friend watching this will hear you.
Send it through to us. Any of us on this panel, we'll make sure it gets out into the public eye. And we'll make sure that we put the boots in our way.
Yeah.
All right. We do a little bit of kicking, a little
Let's
bit.
just say when Alabama, is throwing around a warning letter here or there, that's just something that's. You believe this is actually Reynolds and their push?
It is. It says it.
Yes,
you can see that. Yeah,
this started about 4 months ago when this initially was, brought to my attention.
I mean, I can send it to you, but I posted it today on Twitter. Yeah, and that's what I was saying about their white paper that they just published today. Like, all great information, but if you're serious about tobacco harm reduction, why are you threatening small vape shops? We saw Juul go down this road, trying to kiss up to the government and trying to ban. They tried to do a flavor ban in South Carolina.
A sponsored white paper was just made.
Dropped today. I posted that too.
Which product?
No, it was a white paper on tobacco harm.
Phillip, what have you been doing? No, I'm kidding.
But what I'm saying is, why are they not learning by Juul's mistakes? Juul didn't win any favors with the FDA.
So why are you the rest of the market?
If you're about harm reduction, then you should be about all harm reduction. And we're very sorry that the FDA only approved the products that aren't the most popular for you, and that's awful, but you should go after them and not after small vape shops who are actually trying to help people quit smoking.
No,
I think that's exactly how I feel. Thank you for putting it so eloquently. I also think that VTA has still, not made up. They've still not made it up to me. They're deciding to get behind menthol bans,
I don't know who VTA thinks they're speaking for after VTA took everybody's money and then disappeared off the face of the planet and then comes back and says, we represent the vapor industry and we support a menthol ban. I'm like, who the fuck invited this guy? Seriously.
We should have it completely another show, another time, but I would like to talk about number one. Yes. How they decided to have a very quick, strangely quick, and then we haven't heard about it since campaign. Hey, your $25, blah blah gets you VTA privileges.
Yeah, and then straight up telling people
we're going to go ahead and say nothing for
file a PMTA because it was hopeless.
Yeah,
that's not the kind of advocacy that I want. Thanks,
but I want to listen to you because you know things that I couldn't possibly about this. And then, as far as I know, the way in which they publicly supported the quote banning of menthol cigarettes, basically, which was conflicted with everybody, ABA,
we don't support prohibition. We don't support any of that.
There wasn't a single advocacy. I mean, whether it be consumer, manufacturer based, or other that I know of that had made any sort of statement about, hey, it's okay to ban menthol. They were either
and also prop themselves up as the face of the vapor industry or the voice, and I'm like, no, not anymore.
Well, let's just say there wasn't a single consumer advocate that knew that was coming, and that was, I don't know if, let's just say I kind of thought of that as that and the $25 per for the people who believed they were still representing them. That was pretty fucked up.
Pretty shitty when people are already in a shitty situation to take advantage of small businesses that are hurting and need guidance. And then when that PMTA rolls around to say, don't even, it's not worth it because there's no way that anybody's going to get through. And I mean, and regardless if you're going to get through or not, you still have to try.
Yeah. And thanks for your $25.
Right.
And the really interesting part. There are
a lot of people out there who threw out $25 who didn't have $25 to throw out there. That pisses me off.
Go ahead, Paul.
The really interesting part, people, like across the United States, is that certain tobacco companies are very open to what they're trying to bring forward to the table when it comes to tobacco harm reduction, changing their ways, changing their technology, and moving down the pathway the right way. Reynolds, right? And I'm going to single Reynolds out here. They've tried to do the right thing to a point. But when you start kicking the small person or the small people, you are going to unleash something that you've never seen before and not wanted. People will start refusing to use their products. Okay, they don't have the market traction that they used to. They're clutching at straws to try and get back market traction. Sure, they might have got a stay for the minute regarding menthol. But
are there Vuse products, any one of them authorized or still pending? Any of them?
The tobacco flavors have an approval,
and the Alto hasn't, has it?
No, they've got a stay on the menthol for the minute.
Well, they have a stay, but that was a stay that was given at the beginning of the case, so they haven't actually decided the case yet. They just granted it to them during the case.
But tobacco is a flavor of Enjoy, the Ace device that has been authorized, right?
Well, Vuse has been. I think it's the Vuse that's been approved as well.
Vuse,
in the tobacco flavor,
but not just the solo, a more recent generation.
No, it's the older stuff. And what they're approving is stuff that nobody has used. Yeah.
So Enjoy just having gotten an approval for an actual, like, a device that can compete with other, like, modern, refillable pods, the Ace. It's just tobacco, but it's a modern product that people might actually use. I don't know who's advising Reynolds. Let's just say that Altria has made a couple of really good decisions in terms of who's guiding them on their regulatory what next sort of. But I can't imagine why. Not only is Reynolds alienating themselves, they're doing it very loudly, and I don't understand what it is.
There's a good reason why. Because Reynolds was working on a synthetic product and a synthetic variant of the Vuse. Okay? Yet that's still going through market, like the PMTA process. Their older variants were the ones that were approved. They were also working on a 3rd generation or 4th generation device, and from my understanding, that's also under PMTA as well. They're using old technology. The old technology is what got passed. Okay? Being the catalyst for the next 2 generations to be brought forward and through. That is what's going on right now.
The Vuse Solo isn't actually as satisfying as the Logic Original Platinum. And let's just say that is not anything that people who vape are going to buy unless there's really no choice out there. The point is, I don't see what the upside of them, like, truly urging the government to take competitors' disposable options off the shelf.
But it gets even better than that. It gets even better than that because we just found out today that BAT, which is the parent company of RJ, tried to buy Elf Bar.
And didn't work out, apparently.
But why? Why are you trying to buy a product that you are trying to push off the market?
Well, I wonder why, because who the parent company is behind Elf.
Well, it doesn't really matter. They really don't think much of us, Paul. That's what we're trying to say.
Well, Elf Bar turned them down, but I mean, regardless.
Okay, here's the thing.
I don't know.
Do you know who the parent company of Elf is?
No, actually.
Geek Vape.
I've heard that. I really don't know for sure. Someone told me
that. Yeah.
No, it's 100%. They're the parent company behind Elf, okay? And
see, I thought Geek Vape had it. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh no! If you know what Geek Vape has in the pipeline, moving forward,
isn't Geek Vape part of S'more?
No, Geek Vape it's part of a different section of companies. Okay, You've got to understand what's going on in China right now. There's a lot of things going on in the background.
Geek Vape is still not owned by a tobacco company, correct?
No.
Okay.
No.
But BAT is the parent company of RJ in
They want the new technology, right, of what Geek Vape's been working on for quite some time. Okay? The
as BAT, not as Reynolds. This is bizarre as hell.
No, it's not. It's very, very interesting because I actually have a device here, right? It looks like another device, but this is a pod device.
I'm going to pull this up.
Okay. This is the next generation of what Geek Vape's working on.
Is it pre-filled, buy new pre-filled pods, or is it just a
No, no, you can refill the pod.
I have the one that you just showed me. It's decent.
No, you don't. Impossible. Impossible that you have this. This is a pre-prototype sample. It might look the same, but it's not. This has no buttons, nothing. It has a USB. It has no lights, zero, nothing. Data.
I have no doubt that you have a pre-production prototype version of this because this is too loose, not warm enough. They need to do better, but it's very nice. It feels good. Right. All that being said, it's got the 1.1 in it. It's too airy.
That's the first generation.
Paul, I don't know the cool people that you know, but I think that. But what I'd like to say, okay, so Allison, you wrote, and by the way, how many pieces have you wrote for World Vapers Alliance?
Written.
I try to do one a week.
Really?
Yeah.
So how many now have you had published? Because I thought I read all of them, and they're all extremely well done. I don't know whoever either. So anyway, I was just bringing up that. Okay, the most press. Okay, is that under press release? I just wanted to read a little bit more about. Can you tell us in the okay, speak to me like I know nothing. You just said, okay, Reynolds is urging the government to basically take everything off the shelves except for the crap that Reynolds owns. And in the meantime, BAT has made a move to purchase Elfar, or the company that owns Elfar. This is what's happening. And of course, BAT is the parent company of Reynolds. And is it... Is it time for a drink?
I mean, I've already been drinking, so it's fine. If you want to join.
All right. Okay. See, no, I just bought a little bottle of this. Really, I love this stuff. But, when it's just me, I feel, buying a fifth is simply, it's just, it doesn't look good on screen. But so what do you think they're trying to accomplish? And more importantly, I can understand how they think that people are just dumb, but people don't stay that dumb for very long.
Okay.
And more importantly, people don't forget.
I'm gonna answer this though. Yes, there's major innovation now. The coil technology has got to a point within pod systems.
Geek Vape
that
pod system.
It's not only Geek Vape. SX Mini.
But what does this have to do with Reynolds and BAT?
Right. Hang on. They're looking at this one coil technology. Okay. SX Mini call it pure, which it bounces backwards and forwards between the coil and the actual chipset. It tells the chipset that there's very small amounts of liquid within the device. It's a whole monitoring system that they're looking at. It's a whole new technology. If anyone can do it,
he could do it.
Right. It's a whole new technology. Right? We have Inikin going leaps and bounds in front of everyone. The only other company that I've seen so far to this point is SX Mini. Geek Vape picked up on this as well. They're also doing the monitoring system. It will stop functioning if the liquid level gets below a certain thing. If it doesn't sense that amount of liquid within the coil structure, it shuts off. And then you have to refill it or put another pod in. One of the two. Even if you take the pod out and put it back in, it won't reset itself because the signal goes backwards and forwards between the two. It's genius technology. Absolutely genius. And now they're all moving away from Canthal. They're moving forward even what we did years ago with like stainless steel mesh technology And now they can monitor that in real time.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, Phillip, step up to your camera and it'll refocus. You're way out of focus. Yeah. Just there. Usually you have to put your hand in front of the camera and then move it, and should focus back.
Also,
I feel like that Woody Allen movie where I'm out of focus. I'm so embarrassed. Hold on. All right, hold on.
Okay, though, it works specifically with the last 2 generations of Yihi boards. There's a section in there called Pure.
Perfect.
And the pure setting actually goes backwards and forwards between a stainless steel coil, whether it's 304, 316, 317, or even the top end of stainless steel wire, which is 320L.
We're talking about a mod that will automatically sense the temperature, coefficient, of resistance, and it will be able to tell when that particular coil is being pushed, when it's not saturated, and when it's starting to dry out, it will stop firing, or at the very least, it will fire predictably less. Okay. Well, so basically, it's what it's doing. It's taking what was always something of a magic trick, and believe me, my favorite mod is still the SX Q Mini to this day. Why? Well, because I've dropped it 10 times down 10,000 stairs, and it hasn't broken yet, and that's saying a lot. The point is
they've figured out how to do temp control without you having to dial it in.
Yep.
And as much as I like my DNA devices and all that kind of stuff, it's just been way too complicated for anyone who doesn't know anything about to give a shit about it. And I've been kind of interested in whether or not that would ever come back. So I really love that. The idea, I think, I don't know if it was Vapers or somebody like had, that idea they threw out there. It never really.
No.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too. I think that's a lot of that fault is, I hate saying this, but the reviewers, because I think a lot of the reviewers kind of pushed that technology to the side and didn't really kind of share with their viewership, this is how you use it, and it was just like, oh yeah, it's there. But they never really, other than Phil, Phil did explain temp control. I mean, it was an hour and 45-minute video, but he explained it to the point where everyone could understand it. Actually showed you how to
recover. I will never be the same. But I watched all 3 hours of the SX Part 1 and 2, DNA Part 1. What he meant for both is basically when it comes to power accuracy, being linear, SX win. When it comes to being like painfully night sweats accurate on the temperature control side, DNA edges out ever so slightly, but you have to reprogram a PC in order to get it to work.
Yeah. You had to download. You had to download the software on your goddamn computer, just and change the type of batteries you're using, what amperage they were. There was so much that went into
DNA I ever bought. I had to go into eScribe and change the milliamp hours of the goddamn battery it came with. Yep. This is not something that's this is not friendly to people who want to quit smoking.
No, okay. SX started this. All right. Started this project.
Jules, remember Jules?
Yeah, but SX Mini started this project a couple of years ago when they released this.
Yeah.
This little guy, which is actual auto squonk. Okay.
I wish they hadn't screwed it up so badly the first time.
No, this actually has like a little canister down the bottom, and this is an auto squonk where you can actually rebuild your own coils, or there's a little plate that you can put in there. Okay, this is absolutely genius. This was the first variant of it, okay, which is also an auto squonk.
See, that's the thing.
This one, they actually figured it out. And this is where the technology and the chipset in this is so basic, it's not funny. Right? Now, they've gone to like the SL class. This is the SL class.
Beautiful. Yes. I heard the new G class is outstanding. I hear it's Wi-Fi compatible and does a decent rendition of
Here's the thing with this. Here's the thing with this. A 21700 in this, right? And you're vaping at 40 watts. it will control what's going through, and you can actually get a full 2 days of battery life out of this at 40 watts, which is it's not been done before.
That's insane.
It's not been done
That
before.
must be some kind of update that came out recently, because SX Mini is not. Let's just say they've never been known for how incredibly efficient their devices are. But I believe you. The original S and like the original G and all those things. I have like an old Renegade mod that was made by Veritube.
Okay.
I mean, it goes down to like 80% in. Yeah, we're talking a couple of like big drives.
Okay, that had the original 350J V2 in it. And there was also the 350J before that.
Yep.
Okay, the 550 was used in a lot of high-end modders' designs. It was used in, I've got 6 550s up in the cupboard, made by different modders. One being Boxer, that had an original 550 board in it. But if you know what you're doing with the SX Mini software, you can go in there and you can screw around.
Oh, you can do
with absolutely everything.
And you don't actually have to get on your computer like with a DNA mod. You could actually do it on the mod.
Let me ask Allie a quick question here. Allie, you're you're kind of in the shops every now and then. Do you have customers that come in and ask, how to use temp control at all? Is it even come up in conversations?
Not anymore. No. I mean, back when it was popular, yes. And obviously we had to learn how to do that stuff, which really isn't that difficult if you just watch some great YouTube videos. But I mean, it is more difficult for people to comprehend. I mean, I think a lot of adults, especially like people that come into our stores, are older. Yeah. They just want something that's easy. Or they'll just, like what they used to do with me, drop off a Ziploc bag full of their tanks and then say, I want to buy 2 packs of coils and pay for the coils and say, I'll be back in an hour. And then I'd clean out all their tanks and replace all their coils and refill all their stuff.
That's customer service.
I can see that without even like having to try.
That's the importance of vape shops, though, because that's the only time you can have something like that happen. Like people that are so determined to help people quit smoking that we're willing to clean their nasty tanks.
Yeah. For those of you who have not made the pilgrimage to Charleston, South Carolina, and seen the stores east of Charleston, it's really worth it. It is.
Yeah, they're great.
And temp control, Paul. I mean, that was basically for the mouth to lung guys. I mean, it wasn't a lot of the power. A lot of the power users didn't really care so much for it.
No, temp control was not.
Especially RDA guys. RDA guys really didn't.
Bullshit. I always use temp control with RDA.
Well, mouth to lung.
No, stainless.
Okay, the first and best temp control experience I had way back a million years ago was when I threw the Heracles original version 1 Heracles tank on top of some SX Mini I had, maybe the ML class, and it had a nickel coil in it, and it was with that. Bloody hell! It was with that Liquid State Georgia peach flavor in it. It's the greatest goddamn vape I've ever had. And this is back
apple
like
butter. Apple butter,
baby.
Pretty damn good.
Apple butter.
Yeah, but this worked. It brought out everything, and it was like, it wasn't like 575. It was at 475, like it was supposed to be, and it worked beautifully. And then next thing I know, they've got 316, 316L, 317, and then somewhere around that point, things got so difficult for mods to detect what kind of it's such a very okay, let's just say going from nickel to what some of those stainless steel resistance were. That's extraordinarily let's just precise, like the nickel coefficient. Let's just say
one too much fluctuation with the nickel, man. It was
I was the nickel like Passato. I used to use titanium.
Yeah.
And when I switched out from titanium to stainless steel,
I actually
had to work out the coefficient.
Yeah.
See, the variations in certain stainless steels are so minute. It almost felt like those were more those were harder to like figure out. For example, 188 or 8.88 never seemed to work out for me, and nickel, we never had any problem. all that being said, I'm really looking forward to the mod that says we don't need you to put in this number down to like the 8th decimal place using buttons the size of your pinkies. Like, I mean, really, you need to use,
where the mod tells you, "Hey, stupid, you can't vape that high."
No, and I'm as big a nerd as the rest of them. But yes, I finally figured out that I have been speaking Mandarin to most people for years when it comes to temp control.
I still have 100 feet. I still have 100 feet of nickel wire sitting in my desk.
I bet you have a lot of shit though.
Because
John, you have more shit than anyone who ever had shit in the history of people having shit.
But you're right though. I'm gonna because when you brought it up, it made me realize that first time. But I tell you, that first time I hit stainless steel, I have not gone back. I do not vape anything other than stainless steel. But that first initial hit, that first time I hit it, I was like, "Whoa, this is." I grabbed my bottle of juice because I thought I was vaping a different juice. I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, it's the same shit." It was so intense. It was so clean. It was so fresh. I was like, done. I was done, and I forget it. Who do I used to buy wire
but
from?
John, that was the original Crown, stainless steel temp control, whatever you want to call it. They had a nickel one, and then their first stainless steels that were actually kind of easy on the mods. They didn't have to detect down to 1,000%. Anyhow, somewhere around stainless steel 900 plus that they said was modeled after, I don't know what Rolex wristbands are made out of, dumbest shit ever. Things didn't work anymore. And finding somebody who could actually give you a proper TCR on that particular kind of stainless steel 9000X for the discerning vapor, my ass, it was terrible. And it didn't work. I was just wondering.
Look, there used to be a wonderful show on YouTube. A couple of my friends were on there, Plumes of Hazard, and we used to talk about temp control all the time because of the mods that we were getting our hands on and what we could do with the software. Yes, and I'm a Kiss fan, by the way, as well. Rock and Roll Over was my favorite album.
Are there people who are not Kiss fans?
I don't know, but that was my first album I ever bought.
Kiss. You made fun of my first Kiss album. You said I wasn't good enough. So
which one though?
I forgot now.
Yeah. Mine was Love Gun, only because of Gene Simmons' track Love Gun.
Kiss my first
concert.
concert.
I remember my mom being pissed when they cut out the makeup. What Lick It Up came out, my mom was like, they took the makeup off. I'm so upset. And I don't find Ace Frehley nearly as hot as I once did. I'm like, Mom. My mother's always been very, straightforward. She doesn't really mince her words very much. She
Paul Frehley's a friend of mine on Facebook, actually.
No, not Ace Frehley. Ace. Yeah,
you can't
Ace.
see it.
Yeah. His real name's Paul Frehley. He's a friend of mine on Facebook.
Well, that explains the whole Ace versus Paul Stanley thing. But let's just say I don't know who the drummer for Kiss is, and that poor guy. Long story short, I would love for someone to tell me. Vapor SO mods have always been to me kind of like the inexpensive way to get a pretty accurate mod in temp control up until recently. Can I ask you something? They have a pulse mode on their new ones. They have a normal, soft, hard mode, and then they have this yellow thing which just has F. And then a T in parentheses. And I cannot for the life of me figure out what the difference between this and any. They once had, actually it was once explained in the manuals, and now they just don't explain it in the manual. They just keep the mode. I think it had something to do. It was supposed to work like Paul's, new Geek Vape mod is going to work, only it doesn't work now. Not even close.
No, that's it. Yeah. Building mods, hell yeah!
For straight up power mods that don't have any delay.
That's actually where I first met you, though. So there you go. Thank you.
Allie, you have any advocacy news for us?
Oh God.
I have been no.
I mean,
what
obviously,
have you been watching? What's streaming lately that's really good that we don't know anything? We're dudes. We don't know things. Please edify us. What is the most important thing that we don't know right now?
about streaming stuff.
Just in general, there's a constellation of things that we don't know right now as guys.
That's well, I was telling Allie the other day, I was like, what is going on Twitter? Because I've never seen so many ain'ts on one day. It's been the last 3 days. They are hammering Twitter. And Allie goes, Bloomberg money came in. And I was just
they got to act busy. They got to act busy.
Yeah, I've never seen the ain'ts. They were all over Twitter. Look, they've been all over Twitter the last 3 days.
Who oppose
Yeah.
And plus, you have all these bills out in all these different states. I mean, this is the time of year that they're the most active. You know, for us advocates, we're active year round because this doesn't stop for us.
Right.
But for them, they're active when I'm assuming when you see some Bloomberg money's being spent, all of a sudden everybody gets real busy. So
they were able to pay for their cell phone bill and pay their internet access bill. They got internet money is what it is, so they could turn on the Wi-Fi.
I do have to say that there's really nothing that can really, I might be having a terrible day, and I'll look on Twitter like at 3:30, like around the time people, still like their tweets just suck somewhere around 4, right? Well, we'll just say that if I see something along the lines of a Simon Chapman, who is indeed still the worst public health person in the world, we all agree.
He's up there. He's in like the top
even
10.
if you don't know, he's the worst. He's despicable.
He's up there.
When he actually asks someone who has produced quality evidence that e-cigarettes should be given their day in court in Australia, which is tantamount to like sacrilege, correct? We all know that. And Simon says, "Well, you haven't answered my question, dear. Who funded this research?" And the answer is, with all sincerity, sympathy, and earnesty, this was self-funded, Simon.
Yeah.
And he goes completely silent because, well, dear Lord, that wasn't the answer he
wasn't what I was looking
for.
for. Yeah. And also, did anybody catch this PAVE interview with Chris Cuomo? Because that was just epic. And the fact that they said cigarettes are better because you can use portion control. I'm like, well, how much of these deadly toxins, carcinogens, and chemicals is an accurate portion for the youth? Because I really would like to know. Because I only
smoked half a cigarette today.
I want to know exactly, okay, it speaks very little about Chris Cuomo that Meredith sent Dorian. Okay, when they have to send like number 2, who doesn't really, she just doesn't know what she's talking about to do Chris Cuomo show, where he allowed Ryan Marino to get on the radio with him, and Ryan Marino, in less than a paragraph, told him exactly why there is absolutely no such thing as ODing from touching fentanyl. And he had been on record all over the internet talking about how cops are ODing, and he allowed Ryan Marino on it, and I'll give him points for that. But he really needed to go ahead and get a win after that. And sometimes you want to win so bad that there's nothing there but losing. Different degrees.
Well, first of all, how does that guy still have a show? That's one. 2, how does no one take issue with the fact that PAVE is basically promoting smoking cigarettes?
Yeah.
Because it's fucking portion control. That blew my mind. I'm like, did that just happen? Did I just actually hear that correctly? Like, portion control for cigarettes.
And Dorian said this, right?
It's better. It's better because you can use portion control.
Yeah, you can portion it out, man.
This is the one that Cliff had to smack. Like, no, there is no Valley anything. Stop talking. You're embarrassing us all. Please stop. Even like Azar was like, please shut up. And that was on the 1A show.
It was bad. It was really bad.
You're right, though. I don't understand how he's still around. I really don't. I mean, he's the perfect example of second, third, fourth chances. I mean, what does he have to do to finally for the world, the networks, everyone to just finally say, "Hey, dude,
this
man,
just stay." Own self-funded program of some kind.
Well, the so what gene runs deep in that family. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, Dad was like maybe the worst of the bunch. I forgot how bad that dude was.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Maybe he's dating somebody. Maybe he's dating somebody in the network.
We gotta love me some PAVE moms.
Let's just say, okay, you like physically threaten, Greg. Yeah, I'm gonna get you. Okay, I'm gonna find you.
We took their favorite word away.
That's the New York attitude.
Interview.
That's the New York attitude. That's the attitude of your typical New Yorker. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Well, we took that word, that epidemic word, away from them. You know what I mean? Like with our interview, how much they wanted to really hang on to that word, epidemic. So I think that kind of probably started that fire too, because they felt like, well, we need to get back in there and start doing our job. Because now they've taken that, even though they still use that word, that's clearly now that Brian King has said there is no epidemic. I think that probably pissed them off.
Oh, their mouths hit the floor when he said that.
Okay, epidemic is an unprecedented rise over time.
Well, that's what
yes, and of course, not only did he say there's no epidemic, he didn't use it. Like people make it sound like it's a word that it's kind of like great or not great. It actually has a more specific meaning. And if you want to use it in the way that it's supposed to be used, it's the opposite of an epidemic. I don't know what the word is. I used to, at least last week I did. Anyway, it's not true technically, and you don't get any special favors, Pave. And poor Chris had to have Dorian on because Meredith.
Poor Chris, don't say that.
No, I really don't think after the interview, which I think Greg did such. It's funny. He and I met, I think, in Mississippi. Either for the first time, I don't know, a little while before the old Valley thing. He probably doesn't remember. Anyhow. He always cracked me up, and I'm weird and he's weird, so we always crack each other up. But anyway, the way that he handled himself during Como's just god awful. I mean, he made every argument that was not pertinent to the subject matter that he could possibly, everything from, does Greg have kids? He's going to hang that over his head. He didn't want to give Greg, he held himself like an absolute champion throughout. And I'll never forget all the different ways in which, Greg was simply in uncharted. How could anybody know how to, handle that situation? So the fact that man, Chris Como, has such a small penis that when Greg uttered the word Fredo to his producer the day before, it upset him so much that he wanted revenge.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. My people have been called all kinds of things. My time. Anyway, somebody who had a show on CNN and who is such a bully to someone who is actually trying to play, by the rules and give the public some information because he doesn't like being called the best name he's going to get for the rest of his life, nickname-wise.
That's the nicest thing that you could say to him, to be honest. I just think too. I mean, but you know what to expect when you're going into a situation like that. You already know. I mean, when you take an interview like that, you know that it's not going to be on your side, and Greg is such a professional. He's been doing this for so long. I think he just is like, another day at the office, because he's constantly hit with these hard questions and constantly hit with these, all of this bullshit, information that's just out there to really scare people away from even trying vaping. And obviously he's going to hold his own. He's a professional.
I know, but this was baptism by by fire. This is like Dante, like, oh hell, which circle are we in now? I'm just saying this is back when Como had an opportunity to give Greg time to explain what's been happening. Instead, he decided to be a bully because he heard he was called Fredo in the laughing. Greg did an exceptional. And if Chris had actually been a man of character, he would have allowed Greg to tell the world what's most likely going on. And he could have been someone that helped save lives. No, he's more interested in being a prick. And right. I do think that he made a huge mistake. At least what little I heard, he was very big on the whole, the fentanyl touching OD, just nonsense. And he had a segment with Ryan Marino. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but Ryan Marino was on a Q&A just, over the phone. And in the first 2 sentences, Ryan had already, debunked everything that, he was hoping might click. It turned out all of his headlines for several shows were just complete bullshit. And next thing you know, we have, here's Dorian. I have to say the two, I feel like there might be a connection. But he's just
I mean, that's what we do, though. And as soon as I feel like as soon as any of these people are ever met with any evidence, there's no response. There's no, conversation. There's no nothing. They just want to kind of hit you with all of these.
They want to win.
Worries, and they want to scare you. And it's almost like they think you're going to back down because you're in their space. And that's not what we do, because we have so much science and data to back up what we're saying that it's easy.
There at that time, Cuomo could have let Greg explain to him why it's almost impossible that
but he went into that interview not wanting to hear anything that Greg
and Ryan Marino, being a toxicologist, let's just say that he look, you guys know about my youngest brother, and let's just say that right now all the bullshit with hazmat suit demonstrations being being funded by the DEA, that is taking away from people who are actually dying from overdoses. Let's just say it's all these cops who are Narcaning themselves. Mazel tov. It's theater, and it's theater that's completely obscuring the real problem. Is there are people who are dying and very real, and there are a million different ways in which all of this really just horrible bullshit is taking away from the obvious issue. Anyway, that said, love Ryan, and I don't think I'll ever be able to do anything but laugh as Chris Cuomo's ship goes down.
Again.
Oh, hey, real quick here, guys, because we got about 5 minutes. We next week on the 29th, we will be having this man joining us. Nick will be joining us for the first time on the show. Very excited to have Nick on the show. So the 29th, the next Wednesday. And then we are going to make a time change, guys, after the 29th show. The show after that one, we will be starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Kind of help everybody on the East Coast get an earlier start to our show. I guess I've lived here too long to realize exactly what fucking time it is.
Johnny, you are such a mensch. I'm so proud.
Mama gets up early. It's late.
When Allison was first good enough to invite me, and she's like, "It's a little late," and I was like, "It's a little late," but yes, you're up early, and you have let's just say we both have responsibilities, but yours are, let's just say.
My alarm goes off every day at 5. So when I get off of here at 11:30 after we're done chatting afterwards, can't really fall asleep right away. It's like on Thursday, I'm typically useless.
So we're going to start at 4, which is 7 for you guys there on the East Coast. And
if you're ever kind enough to allow me back on the show, I promise I will not be late again.
If you can get me an autographed picture of Cuomo, I'll let you back on. No, I'm kidding. I can see Phillip. He's going to sneak into a deli in New York and find the deli that has a picture of Cuomo with an autograph on it.
What the fuck?
Or a laundromat.
I'm just trying to think of... I can't. Like when Ryan was going on our show, I'm like, I can't speak about that man. Why not? Because I cannot.
Yeah.
And Ryan's someone I respect a lot, and I'm so glad he went on there. Let's just say that now that Cuomo has nothing but his own self-funded, just one man, clown show, and
trying to keep myself relevant show. Yeah.
I want to mention that.
Who's actually backing it? Because
I want to mention that.
I would assume it's Bloomberg. I would.
Yeah. Nick is going to actually not do his Twitch show next Wednesday just to join us. So hopefully,
I'm thinking Mikey B might need to distance himself from this, horrible human being. Damn. No. But
you know how hard I've tried to get an Ain't to come on this show. I just want one to come on just once, just sit, and we'll be nice. We would be nice, and we just listen to us, and we'll listen to you. And for, I don't think they would last 2 hours, but
No.
In my part of the world, when you ask somebody like, "Is Dolores at home?" You say, "No, she ain't." So that you mean ants. I'm trying my best not to use derogatory, pernicious terminology, but never heard it said ain't. It's just like
the ain'ts.
We're trying to get some science deniers on the show.
Yeah.
I will try and find. Man, there are.
It won't happen.
They won't come on.
They don't
here.
want to talk to us.
Yeah, they don't want to talk to us.
We should find someone who actually has an opinion that is demonstrably inaccurate, who we can speak to with empathy, frankness, and sincerity.
Do those people still exist? No, I know there's somebody out there that has the knowledge, and that's fine. I want someone that knows what they're talking about. I want someone just reading off a script or reading off some blog or something, they got, or handbook that, somebody sent them.
So you don't want any of the people that are
so that kind of limits who can actually come on the show.
I feel like I'm at a certain age where I want to try it again because I wasn't approaching it the right way.
We're nice people.
These people are.
Right?
Yeah, anybody but Chris Como and Tahir might actually.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it's in my case, I did it so poorly, or I approached people who might have, shared my opinion in the wrong way, that maybe I should give most of them another shot, with the exception of the obvious.
Rogue, you're in the naughty corner now for about
we would
10
have
minutes.
to retract everything
Fuck
he
you.
said like the following day.
Stan Glantz posted something about his personal memoirs being made. I don't know. He has forever been immortalized by the University of San Francisco, California. And I think 88 views last time I checked, over as many, over the last 5 hours. People are really excited about the oral history of Stanton Glass.
Rogue, go to the naughty corner and stay there for 10 minutes, dickhead.
Did he say the name that I shouldn't have just said?
That name shall not be said.
I just love how... Stan, man, I don't know.
All right, you're in the naughty corner as well. No, you don't say that word here. No,
we used to not be allowed to say Bloomberg on this show. We used to not be allowed to say that name. We're gonna make it a drinking game. We're gonna make it a drinking game.
Okay, so these are the people we can go ahead and say we tried our best. Sorry, we just really can't do any better. Okay, we've got that guy. We got the other guy, the SG guy. Then we got that SC guy, and then we got that TT guy who really never mattered in the first place.
Yeah, no,
sorry, Paul. Most of them are in Australia.
I draw the line right now. Okay. Right, that's another 20 minutes for each of the first two names.
This show's over.
Right, and Meredith, we're just going to send her, boxes of canned wine.
Academics.
And canned wine?
I said a canned wine gift basket.
Yeah.
I entice her to come on.
And no labels, just a white label that says wine on it.
I wonder if Joe Mitchell will come on the show at some point in the near future and tell us more about what we're not quite.
Oh, dear. Oh, Mallory. you get an hour for each.
Oh, well, hey, guys.
I'm not as young as I once was, and that was really, ow.
We're out of here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
I can't feel my left shoulder. Hey, I love you all. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Paul, that's so
Philip's going to his corner. I got to go to my corner. Allie's going to her corner.
Fuck's sake.
We will see everybody next week. Again, Nick will be joining us for our last show at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll see everybody next week. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Phillip. Thank you, Paul. And thank you
for having me.
Yeah, I was going to attempt to say your last name, but I'm not going to say it. Yeah.
difficult.
It's not that hard. It's Kirschberg. For fuck's sake.
Who?
Paul, I'm sorry to say this, but you're wrong.
We're talking about
Lisa.
It's my accent.
Lisa's last name.
Oh.
I know how to say. I know how to say Phillip's last name now. No, I'm saying
Kirschberg.
Yeah.
Only took him like 72 times. He got it now.
Yeah, I got that name down. I can't say.
Kirsch would be the way to go at it if you're a big cherry liqueur fan. So you're not.
Yeah. Kirschberg. I love you, Phillip. All right, guys, we will see everybody next week. Again, Nick will be joining us. Thank you, Allie, for hosting tonight, and we will see everybody next week.
Thank you.
And where is that button? There it is.